Dramatic. That's actually from the Tombstone OST. That is the main title, and Hell Follows With Me. So this... Hi, I'm Zeospantera, host of Z Reviews. This is the second revision, long time coming. And coming with a U, because the original IFI... Alright, the naming conventions of IFI are abysmal, and I apologize in advance. Because this is the IFI Neo iDSD 2. It's not just a Neo. It's not the Neo 2. It's the IFI Neo iDSD 2. So, just call it the Neo. We're just going to call it the Neo. All right, the Neo 2. The Neo 1 is upstairs, getting ready to go to CanJam London. If this video is coming out after or before or during, I'm at CanJam London showing off the Eris. Thank you to everyone who supported me there. Check out my videos on the second channel about it. This, however, is the second revision, and I had... Here's the thing: the original one, the Neo iDSD one was one of my favorite things, and that's why it's coming to London with me. All right, there was a reason, but it was $700, and it lacked features, and it was like IFI is all known for their X bass and their X space, and they have the line outs, and they just none of that was even like thought of, and it was just like, here's a unit, it's expensive. Plug-in headphone. It wasn't very powerful. It just did things, and I loved it. Despite it having all those flaws, I loved it. So what have they fixed on the 2? Pretty much everything. Pretty much everything. The remote control is less jank, although it bears a remarkable resemblance to the Black Ice audio remote that I have for their FX10H. I just noticed it. It's like, okay. But still a nice aluminum remote. What does it say? Infrared remote, distance 5 meters, 38 kil. Wow, this whole thing uses the NEC transmission protocol. More power, X bass, X space, including presence control, gain control. We have 4 levels of gain on this. The other one was like, here you go, 0 gain control. Also, you get to, when you plug in a headphone, when we're playing music, we almost blow up my headphones, but there's a problem. All right, there's one glaring flaw in this setup, and I will demonstrate that for you right now by going to another loud song. Dragon Tattoo, Ghost in the Shell. Here you go. Perfect. That looks loud. Headphones plugged in. Headphones playing. Headphones not really playing. Why is music still coming out of you? These are the speakers I'm using, by the way, out of the back of the unit. So, plugging in the headphones doesn't completely stop the music from coming out of your lineouts. You can set them to just be pure lineout so that the headphone affects nothing, or you could have it set so when you unplug, this is now in control of that. Ghost in the Shell 2017, Catherine's Peak. The Ghost in the Shell live action was terrible. Not for the effects, not for the acting, for the changes in the storytelling. You see, the original Ghost in the Shell, if you haven't seen it, was all about the soul and what makes a person a thing. And, it was about, trying to determine that. And that was the main theme. And the new live action movie was corporations are bad. There was nothing to do with the soul and the really deep meaning. So they could look great. You could have good actresses in it. You could do all the special effects. Adam Savage. But if you change the fucking core meaning of the fuck, you fucked it. Anyway, back on to other things. Please go watch the anime. It is better. Change to something childish can be? No, perfect. So because... I'm sure that's going to get demonetized. It's going to do that. So let's look at the unit. Then we'll discuss. Because there's very good things. This thing is 5.5 watts a channel. It's not turbo mode. It's... Oh, fuck, I gotta look. Because they don't indicate... It's not 4 gain settings of like low, medium, high, and super high. It's fucking pictures. And we got to bring out the manual. And the manual's here, there. Okay, so... There's IEM match or IE match, which is like the lowest setting, and there's a gain button here. Then there's normal, which is a water droplet, because when I think normal, I think of water. Then there's turbo, which is fire, and somehow fire is not the most, because nitro is the lightning bolt. iFi, calm the fuck down. All right? It didn't have to be that. It didn't have to be this. I mean, it's kind of cool, but, because when you hit the game, you get to see on the screen, it goes between IEMs and water droplets and fire and lightning bolts. We should talk about the screen for a second before I get on to the whole tour. You can change the brightness with the power button. That's full, that's lowest, that's medium-ist. The medium-ist brightness. They're really not that different, and I don't think bright gets bright enough. And there's also something about this glass that is, it's just insanely, it's kind of mirrored. Like there, you can see the DJI Pocket 2 and the screen on it, and me and my eye. Can you see my eye? Yeah, well, when you put it down on a desk with a colorful desk mat or something, all you see is the reflection of the thing and not the screen. So I don't know what they did. Like, this is made of glass. It's literally glass, and it's way easier to see through that than it is to that. But all right, stop, back up. I have angry things I want to say, but also really good things I want to say. So that's why a good review makes something that has both its amazing qualities and its fucking flaws. So now that we've determined that, go back to, see, this best girl. Is she flawed? If you watch the show, SSS Gridman, you'll know she's quite flawed, but still best girl. Rika's thighs can do whatever. So here's the thing about the unit. You can take this off and lay it down, and the screen will automatically flip. Try reading that now. So you can't. So let's put it onto a black surface, and then you still can't read it. So, okay. Nice, though. The screen automatically flips, including every orientation. So I flip it like this. It'll also work like this, but it's kind of bottom heavy. I consider this the bottom, so that's sort of a flaw. But you can turn it any orientation, fine. We're going to leave it vertical for the time being. This one had the feet put on it because I got the unit from iFi, and they're like, we're just going to give you one that's been already touched and played around with, so I'm fine with that. I wouldn't put the feet on it, although the feet do say iFi on them, which is kind of interesting. This is the replacement for the Bluetooth antenna. Instead of having an antenna that came off the back that you could just disable if you're not using it, they've decided to cut out the corner of the unit, make it entirely out of plastic so that the Bluetooth antenna can work. A bit extreme. Most devices will just have a little panel of glass, like the size of a postage stamp, to be the Bluetooth antenna. But they're like, nah, fuck it. And although this would light up, become like a desk lamp, but it doesn't do that either. The fascia of the unit. So you get your screen, which you've already agreed is way too reflective and not bright enough. But it does show you your input. That's a picture of a coaxial. Actually, it's yellow, and this wire just happens to be yellow. If we switch through the inputs, you get optical, line in. It has a 3.5 millimeter line in if you want to avoid the DAC. Auto, which picks automatically. USB, which somebody on Amazon, I was reading the reviews. I very rarely do this, but they were like really mixed. And one of the guys was like, yeah, if you have a USB driver and you plug it in and you sleep your computer, it breaks fucking everything and you got to restart like everything to make it work. So I haven't used it USB. I like to use things with SPDIF because it means no drivers, and it seems to work just perfectly fine with that. And then you have your Bluetooth, which I haven't paired it with anything because I wouldn't Bluetooth, like this is, I guess if I was using speakers with it, it'd be fine, but I'm not going to sit here with headphones on and then have a Bluetooth connection to it because that's silly. Currently the volume is muted. It goes from 2 to mute. There is no 1. So yeah, your display there is volume. It doesn't do negative. It used to do negative numbers like from 0. 0 was max, and then it would go negative 10, negative 20. This now counts up, which also apparently confused somebody. You see we got PCM coming in instead of DSD or MQA. I actually, you know what? Don't think this mentions MQA, so that's fucking points. iFi was one of those companies that was back in MQA, and I'm like, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Stop. 44.1 is what we're currently feeding it because it's coaxial digital, and you got a picture of the lightning bolt because we're on the maximum gain. We're going to go less than maximum gain. We're not going to go to IMs. We're not going to go to the water drop. We're not going to go to the fire. Actually, we are going to go to the fire. Fire. We're picking fire. So now Come down below the screen, you've got this nice little concave section that looks like it was punched out by Jesus. Like, you get a digital volume knob with push button in to get to the menu. And then we'll get to the menu in a second. You've got this glowing light here. Like there's just, it's hard to tell because it's silver with a lot of other white lights glowing. But there is white light right there indicating it is on. If you can tell, you see what it just did? You see how this is upside down? If I put it back to level, it's fine. If you turn it sideways, it goes sideways. But if you tilt it back just a little bit till I see it, there it goes. Now it thinks that that's the bottom, even though it's blatantly this way. So they have the orientation of their I don't know, what is that? The gyroscope that's figuring that out. It's a little jank. It should be able to be like angled and still be fine. It works. Just gotta be real fucking level. Then you have this clusterfuck of 5 buttons. The original one just had a single line down the middle, so now they've gone with a cross. Sign of the cross here. You get your power in the middle, which if you hold it down, power off, it says power off. It's nice. I love the way the screen like says power off, slowly fades away. It's doing nice things. It's just hard to see. If you had the sun in your office, you're fucked. It's just a mirror, man. It's wildly a mirror eye. Hold it down for a second to turn it on. It says iFi. Light comes on. How did that come back on? Did we have it? Oh, we had it muted probably. So power button's there. That's basically the only use of the power button is I don't think you can mute. Now you do brightness adjustment with it. And you can double tap and does auto, which I think will shut off the screen after a minute. Then you have your Bluetooth input setting, which we've already touched. You get your gain settings, which we already touched. And now you have the other 2 buttons, which were missing from the previous one, X space and X space. X space takes a headphone that is a little bit narrow or doesn't really have a lot of soundstage. Eris is not the correct headphone for this test, and it will like expand it. It'll do a holographic sound thing. And it tends to do a lot of that analog. I'm not sure if iFi is still running it. Yeah, it shut off the screen. It just has the light on. I am not sure. Not power off. I wanted to change the brightness. You bitch. I am not sure if they're keeping it in the analog realm or going digital realm for it in this unit particularly. Let's see. There we go. Brightness on. But the X space has one setting, on or off. It's either holographic imaging enhancement or not. On some things I like it, on some things I don't. If it already has holographic soundstage, you don't really need to add any more. X space has always been like a 50-50 if I even want to dabble in it. The X bass button is the one that everyone wants to suck its D. I want to suck its D. I've talked about X bass before in that it's like addictive. It's bad for audiophiles because audiophiles should be just like, look, she's wearing headphones, probably very happy with flat, neutral. You get it. You want to change the way it sounds, you plug it into a different amplifier. Putting a bass boost on something, that's so dirty. Why do you got to be so dirty? That's nasty. What? That's changing things. You won't do that. You're an audiophile. But you leave it on because it does just beautifully. It's not even just like you could take like a regular knob on bass and turn it up. It's not that. It's something else. X bass on anything iFi is, well, just read the comments. Comments, chat, everyone who's watching this. What are your thoughts on X bass? How much do you like it? There's just going to be a fucking jackfest in the comments now. So this has X bass 2 for the second revision of it, which honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you legally what the hell the difference between X bass 1 and 2 is. Just know this has part 2. And if you press it once, it comes up with a blue X. That is just the bass enhancement. Voila. You hit it again, and you got a presence instead of X bass. Even though it's called X bass, it isn't actually increasing the bass now that it's gone green. It's increasing the presence, which is almost like a sound shaping thing again. It's kind of like an EQ curve. That's the only way I could describe it. Because I was flipping through it, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with the second X bass? It doesn't even sound like it's doing anything. X bass 2 changes the frequency response graph to something that iFi thinks is more in tune than the Harman curve to what people want to listen to. That said, you hit X bass 2 again, now it's red. And what you get with the red one is that same sort of like change of shape of the sound, and then X bass on top of it. So that's just a complete if you do X space red and X bass red, and you plug in a headphone you've never heard before and listen to it on this, it's a completely different thing than if you plug it into I was going to say normal amplifier, but that ain't normal. Even the Quest Style 15 would be more of like a normal amplifier. You'd go from this to that and be like, what the fuck is going on here? So I love these buttons. If you have a collection like I have of headphones, some of them will need it, some of them will not, and you will just play around. It's nice to have. Keeping in mind, this unit, I haven't mentioned the price yet, have I? Well, it's $900. It doesn't get a gemstone in the title, but it's fucking close. So I want and expect those things. I want and expect 5 watts a channel. None of this is like, oh man, you're getting a bargain. The iFi Zendac, like whatever the version 7 we're on now, that thing's like $200. It's gone up. They've changed revisions, but it's $200. You get X bass, you get a DAC, you get balanced output, you get balanced output for line. You get a lot of the same stuff this has. But it's $200. So this has got to come up and show its own for $900. I'm also going to peel off this high-res audio sticker. I was waiting for you guys to be here. It is an annoying one, as it seems to have lost all of its adhesive on the actual unit, so we're going to have to use my rubbing alcohol, which just happens to be right here, by the way. If you don't have rubbing alcohol, a little spray bottle, I recommend it highly. Don't get any in the fucking ports is all. Yeah, oh yeah, it's going to come off beautifully. Just massage it. I dislike high-res audio buttons, or stickers, I should say, simply because, fucking duh, A, don't put stickers on my shit. B, if I'm spending $900 on a unit and you need to add a fucking sticker to remind me, by the way, this is high-res audio. Yeah, fucking no shit. So yeah, please keep those stickers off. I find even Topping has figured out an SMSL. Just put the sticker in the box on a piece of paper, and if user wants to stick it on the unit, they have that ability. I don't want it. I do not want it. You do not want it. If you want the high-res audio stickers and you like them, go down to the comments, find the unsubscribe button, get the fuck out of here. No one needs those unless you're doing it as a joke. I would kind of find it funny if they gave you like a sticker that was like that big, slapped over the side and half leaning over the front. That would be a joke. But it's not a joke. Stop it. Stop putting shit on there. 1/4-inch output, 4.4 output. I love how I went down the entire front of this and had an entire conversation. We didn't even get to the menu. So before we go to the back, let's hold down this button and go to the menu. Whew. Okay. So you have options and then back. Digital filter, STD. You get an STD if you put on STD. You get BP, which is bubble penetration. And then you get GTO, or I don't know, there's some disgusting sex term, I'm sure, for GTO. It actually stands for Gibbs Transient Optimized, but, you know, I don't know. We'll make up some fun shit. And then min for minimum phase. So you get 4 options. I had it on Gibbs Transient, and then I put it on Bit Perfect, which does no smoothing or sampling. And then I just put it on standard, and I don't even know. Let's try minimum phase. So now it's on minimum phase. I rarely, if never, can tell the difference between different digital filters. If you can, by all means. You get to control the gain in here as well, which is just a screen that shows you them like that. And we're putting it back on turbo. There's a volume sync toggle here, and I wasn't sure what that was, if that was for the line outs for the speakers and the headphone, if those would sync, or if you'd have separate volume controls for those two when you separated them. What I believe that's actually for is for when you're using this USB on a computer, the computer Windows volume will then control this volume, which would be better, especially if you have a keyboard with a knob. It's nice and easy. Turn a knob down over there. This digitally lowers. So that's nice. Volume sync is nice. I just can't use it. Bluetooth voice prompt on or off. I'm not going to use it as a Bluetooth. Doesn't matter to me. External sync clock. There is a 10 megahertz sync clock input on the back of this. In case, I mean, I guess it's $900, but external sync clocks rarely come up in our day-to-day lives as kind of mediocre audiophiles. If you're watching this, you're probably a mediocre audiophile. If you think you're better than that, don't be. It's fine to be mediocre audiophiles. If you need to sync the clocks, which was like basically giving like a heartbeat to everything in your system so everything talks at the same rate and doesn't fuck up bit direction. We're getting beyond the time of shit that's just like, I listen to music on Spotify. If you listen to any streaming... all right, here's a rule. New rule. New rule? Zeos can make new rules, right? I make new rules all the goddamn time. if you have a subscription to any streaming service, even lossless ones, you probably don't need a fucking master clock because you don't care enough that you've disconnected yourself and your own separate generators. And that's some fucking crazy shit. All right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the clock. Anyway, so you have the external clock you could turn on. Then you have line out volume control. One of the other complaints I saw on the Amazon post was that this comes with a line out volume control turned off by default. And it spooked that guy and it spooked me because when I plug these speakers in, usually I would think that if this has an output in the back with XLR and it's got headphone out, that I would set the volume to whatever it is. And if I plug that in, it should be whatever it is. So if it's not 99, it would be 72. It is 99. With the volume control setting not turned on, the back ports are full tits. Straight out 100% volume. And it was loud in here for about 3 seconds. And I had paused. What is that? Basement jacks. Set your body free. And then underneath that you have factory reset. And underneath that you have an about page. Now, here's the thing about the about page. This says Neo iDSD 2 version 1.13. That's the firmware version. I was like, all right, I've had this unit now for a couple of months. I had a little bit advanced than everyone else. I will look for a firmware update because of that leaking thing it does with the volume out. Sure as shit, firmware 1.15 is out. Great, I have 1.13. I load up the software. You got to do this on a Windows computer or a Mac computer. You got to load in the actual driver. You got to go into the folder. You got to load the DFU inspector to load the new firmware. But the thing that looks at the software that looks at this was like, yeah, you have firmware 1.10. That says 1.13. All right, whatever. Install the firmware, hit the install, it does finish, boom. The software reads it as 1.15. This still says 1.13. So now they need a firmware update to tell the firmware what firmware you're firmwaring. Because the software, the one through the USB told me it was 110 and then went to 115. And this is just 113. It hasn't changed. And I've restarted it and unplugged it and moved it. So I don't trust the about section in the menu. It's probably lying to you. You have to plug this in via USB and open the software. So now that we've gone over the entire front and the entire menu, also this screw bothers me. It shouldn't, but it's like, the other one didn't have a screw. Why do you have a screw there? Screw you, screw. Oh, okay. We rotate now. Here is your power supply, which is a 9-volt, 1.5 amp. It does come with all right, I was going to say nice, but I'm getting like real pissy about wires all of a sudden. Like it's like my new hobby. And this is a fabric covered power supply cable, and it's very stiff. Like it could float in mid. If you janked it just right, it would just float there in midair. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay if it's not fabric, if it's more flexible. Or weave it like this. Why doesn't anyone make power cables like this? Are these not UL compatible? Like, because this is nice and flexible and lies flat and is soft. All of these cables are not. Nope. We're just going to make a stiff fucking. It's just like somebody needs to take the starch out of the laundry. So you've got kind of an annoying power cable. And if you're standing it up, it's going to be the top cable on your setup, not the bottom, which I guess you would want the XLRs to be the bottom. But then again, you might not use XLR outputs, and you might have to always use this all the time. So I would put this on the other side if I was them. That said, underneath that, we have a USB port that is, well, it's a USB 3.1, which you don't need to use. It's just, that's the one they use. If you don't recognize that, I don't blame you. I've had like 3 devices in my entire life that actually have this port on it. You get your optical, which had a cap, and I think I put the cap away over there. You get your coaxial input. Here's your 10 megahertz sync BNC. Your analog input, which I thought for a second was going to be 4.4. Because I looked at the thing, it's a gold, and it's not a 4.4, it's a 3.5. And then you have your XLR and RCA outputs in the back. There's also a nice little curve here. Do you see that? Like, there's just little touches that aren't going to show up really well on camera that just like, it makes it less than a boring box, and I like it for that. They put some effort into it. I think this still is, it's designed to be vertical. The fact that you can make it horizontal is like, raise your hands again in the comments. Everyone's comments are going to be 20 miles long. would you ever use this thing laying down? Because the power button is indicated in that orientation, which means it's sort of designed by default to be laying down. But this is why I love it, because it takes up so much less desk space. This is a full-fledged 5-watt speaker amp. Well, no, full-fledged 5-watt headphone amp, although you probably could run speakers on it if you had the right taps. Oh. Need like 65. And then I can listen to anything I want. Okay. We've now toured the back. We've now toured the front. I had my complaints about the power cable and about the screen tilting and about the leaking of the sound. Because I have headphones plugged in, and if I hit play, and then I unplug these headphones, you still hear music. It's very light, but it's still there. So it's not the end of the world, but it's something a $900 piece of equipment shouldn't do, is leak. Oh, they also want to specify very, very importantly that this is not a digital volume control. This is an analog volume control. And it's not like it notches. It goes click, 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 click. Internally, that is analog. It is still a digital control of an analog volume control. They're very important to tell you that, because that is something that actually does cost money. Like to make a digital analog volume control, because full analog volume controls that are like just a pot that gets dirty are bad, and full digital volume controls, people will argue that, well, you're cutting out bits when you're doing things, and this is probably doing a voltage ladder, a voltage step ladder, but not with a bunch of clicking relays. And it's all shoved in this little tiny box. Once you understand, like, okay, that, and okay, this, and okay, this, and okay, this, and it's all in this little package, the $900 starts to sort of make sense. Sorta. We're only sort of making sense still. Let's get the fuck out of Beck. So I've been using this. I've been using this thing to play my IEMs for IEM testing videos on the In-Ear Fetish channel, which is a separate channel from this. Go follow me on In-Ear Fetish. In-Ear Fetish. Fenish is probably some sort of salad they make in Denmark. And I know when I listen to anything on it, and I listen to everything, all the time, everywhere. I know when I'm listening to this with an IEM, I'm getting just this little bit of smoothness added. Just a little bit. Because that's what the original did. Let's lower the gain down. You have to go through high gain, by the way, when you're switching. It's a little bit warmer. It's got a little bit more punch to the bass. It's not pure and neutral with all the shit turned off. It's still got a flavor to it. We are in Flavor Town. Just a little bit. We've got 1 foot inside of Flavor Town when you're playing with this unit. But that's why I loved the original. The original was lacking everything. Didn't have controls over the back. You plugged the headphone in, the back still went full tilt. It was nothing. Didn't have X bass. Didn't have X bass. Didn't have gain controls. Had nothing. Fucking nothing. Didn't have a menu. But I loved it because when you plug something into it, it just had there was a special flavor to it. And it wasn't like you're pouring hot sauce on your shit. That's like Class A. That's Rebel amps. That's tubes. Those are things that you plug in, and it's like, oh, damn, this is a different experience. And this is subtle. This is a little bit more refined. And you can unrefine it by hitting X space and X space. And this is White Stripes. I fucking hate the sound of the White Stripes. There's like 5 good songs. Got like 50 songs. I like 5 songs. And the rest of them sound like they're recorded by me in a bathroom. I was going to say basement, but my basement's really nice, and recording in here would probably be amazing. And I know this is not like with Zeos, you're reviewing a $900 fucking amp deck. Shouldn't you have more better headphones in your areas? No! You should have headphones you know. And fuck do I know these. Always assess the thing on a thing you know. Even though the thing you know doesn't the best the thing, do the thing you know with the best the thing. And besides, it's been here for weeks. I've played with everything on it. And it's consistent in the fact that it always sounds just a little bit better than maybe it did in the last amp. Just a little bit. It doesn't give you the full range of tube warmth And it's giving you that Class A fucking, like, just heat. But there's something about it. There's just something that you're like, you know what? I kind of like what this is doing. I kind of like what it's doing. And that shouldn't cost you $900 fucking dollars. By all means, don't buy this. And buy, I'll link it in the description, buy the iFi just straight up Zen DAC, which is a DAC amp combo, and it's 200 or 250. It's less. Lots less. Buy that first. Assess if you love that first. Because if you love the way that sounds, then maybe the stuff that's higher up the iFi line will also find you very happy. Like, I know the Diablo, I know people have measured it. I know Golden's measured it, and it's like, it says 5 watts portable. It's really more like 2.9. And there's a whole argument back and forth about what power is power. But I don't care about the numbers as much as, does it sound like it is this? Does it push things like it is this? And this does push things like it is that. Let's go to something other than Witch of Mercury. Also, I'd like to point out that the volume knob is at a perfect height. That's something you're not going to get on every amp. Usually, amp like here. That is low. That is drag your knuckles on the ground to adjust. This is lovely. And it's smooth, and it tracks really well. If I go to 100 down to fucking 16 to 100 down to fucking 0 to... It's always like, it doesn't skip a beat. You just have to know how hard you're turning. And there is a slight pop between every volume. It's like, and that's how you know it's analog and not digital, because digital doesn't do that. It's doing whatever it's doing analog, and it's just this little fucking like crickle every time you kick. That's a good song. Be careful with your volume speed. As I said, it was accurate, but it has momentum adjustments. So like if I do, wait, let me see. Yeah, we're going up and down like 60 units at a time. Where if you go slow, you can go on like one whole rotation is like 20 units. So calm the fuck down. This, by the way, is Citizenship, but spelled really fucking. CTZNSHP, New Brave. It's from the Mr. Robot soundtrack. So yeah, I would absolutely put this on my desk upstairs. This could be the amp DAC. It's done. That's another thing. It's an amp and a DAC. It's done. It's got your outputs for speakers or for another amp. You do RCA out to these as well. And I wonder if it leaks out the RCA. I didn't actually test the RCA. I've been doing XLRs only. I presume it would, but at a slightly quieter volume. I assume the whole circuit's just going to leak. But it's a great improvement. I'm hoping that they, for the third revision, maybe they do a collab with me. Wouldn't that be nice? And then we could change the name of it to just the Neo fucking 3. What do you get? The iFi Neo 3. What are you talking about? It's not the iFi Neo iDSD XL TX394 Mark 3? No. Neo 3. Short. Unless they have another Neo. Wait, they did have the Neo Micro? No, they didn't do that. They had the Micro, then it was like a Micro iDSD. Ah, fuck, I hate it. Anyway, done. Her wallpaper hoard. This, link in description. These are now on Amazon if you want to buy them without shipping, unless they're out of stock, because they're probably going to be, because why wouldn't it be out of stock? Yeah, these good. This good. I love all the guys at iFi and all the girls at iFi. Whenever you see them at a show, they're fantastic. There's just little things I want to poke with a stick at it. Anyway, Patreon subscribes to support this channel. If you like these videos and you want to see them early, by all means, $5 a month will let you see all the reviews I make slightly early, sometimes a lot early. In fact, I know for a fact this month will be a lot early because I'm going to London to show off things. I'm going camping after that. I'm going with my family before that. I need to make a month's worth of videos in the next week. So you'll have a month's worth of videos prepped and ready for you if you're a $5 patron. So you get to see those reviews early, participate in yard sales from the 1st to the 10th. I could, if I'm keeping this, if they let me keep this, I would still probably wouldn't sell the original. The original's got a special place in my heart and just its simplicity. This one adds a lot of bells and whistles. But oh, by the way, the other one, the original, is still for sale. $550. Again, if you don't feel like spending the money on the extra things, you get one for a lot off. I'll link the original. Zeos link the original. Series early, participate in yard sales, which is when I sell things. 1st to 10th of every month. Lossless sound demos. I've removed all the sound demos from YouTube a while ago. And if you want new ones and old ones, they're all available, but only to patrons. There's also for the $5 tier, there's now going to be a once a month Q&A post. We'll be like, hey, Q&A post, ask me your questions. And the next month, I will answer them in a video just for patrons. Actually, that video is live. You can go to the place and see it. It's for patrons for like a week. But then you don't get to ask questions unless you're a patron. So there you go. And then for $10 a month, you get to the behind-the-scenes Telegram chat where you don't have to wait to ask me questions. You just ask me questions all the damn time. Me, you, and all the other people who have jumped in there and joined will answer your questions. We'll help you out as best we can. There's also a lifetime swap meet channel attached to that. So if you want to sell things to buy other things, that is a great place to do it. Anyway, do that. Check out the Hi-Fi Guides forums. Buy merch if you want. I don't know, my merch. My merch is my collabs. So check out my collabs, which is usually wires and IMs and these. That's my merch. Would you rather have a shirt or a fucking headphone? Well, granted, this is an expensive shirt. If this was a shirt, no one's paying $250 for a shirt unless it's a really nice shirt. Good. Anyway, I'm done. You're done. She's done. We're done. I'll see you all in the next one.